Today I like to go over if statements, and this corresponds with, we'll go over 3.1 to 3.3 in your book. So, if statements are again a decision structure, as we talked about both in the book and also in the module lesson. And they're very powerful, and they're sort of the basis of what we're going to be doing in Java during this course. So today I'm going to go over and create a very basic um, program based on if structures, and also we'll use J option pane as our graphical user interface instead of the console area in um, built into IntelliJ, which is more realistic how you would interact with users when you're writing programs in the real world. All right, so first things first, if you want to use JOPS and pane, we have to import it. So we're going to go ahead and import Javix swing dot JOption pane. That's the class we want. So we're going to import that. And IntelliJ automatically sets you up with the main method that you need, the structure you need to execute that. So we're going to today we're going to create a program that tells you whether or not you're qualified for a loan based on your monthly income and your monthly debt payments. And if you have a debt to income ratio above 1.0, or basically your debts are equal to your your income, then you're qualified for whatever loan this is. If your debts are less than or cost more than your monthly income, then you're gonna have a debt to income ratio less than one, so below 1.0, meaning you're going to have to you pay more in debt servicing than you do in your monthly income. So that means you probably don't have enough room to take on more debt. Not necessarily realistic, but bear with me. This is an example. So we're going to have a couple of variables. So first variable we're going to use is we're going to set up a integer. Just because it's easier to work with and gets the point across easier. But and we're going to use all whole numbers in this example. So we're not going to deal with the double. But we're going to set up an integer variable, and it's going to be called total income. And then we're going to do another integer variable, and we're going to call it total debt. So obviously those two variables are going to be your monthly income and then your monthly debt. And then we're going to set up another final variable, and it'll be called debt to income, and that'll be a double, since debt to income ratios can be decimal points or float type data type. So we double debt to income. Notice the first letters in each of these variables are lowercase, which is stylistically correct in Java. Basically saying that, hey, this is this is a variable. All right, and then we're going to create a Boolean variable, so it's either true or false that you are below min score, so below the minimum debt to income ratio. And then we're also set up a string object, and we'll call it input, and that'll be the string object that will be catching all the inputs from the user using JOption pane. So first things first, we want to collect the data from the user. So we want to say input is equal to JOption pane dot show input dialog, and here we want to say enter your income and debt payment. And we will tell you if you qualify for a loan. And here we'll just do a new line and we'll say enter your monthly income. Put a semicolon there. And then we'll say total income is equal to we'll parse we'll parse the integer, and then we'll say parse input, and so we pass the argument in it. We're using basically a method within the integer class here to convert input, which is a string, into an integer. Okay, so so that forces this string that the user inputs into a integer, and then it'll be placed into total income. Now you can do that with anything really. We can say here double dot parse double and then input, and that would be also correct. But for now, we'll stick with integers for this particular example. So next, we want to get your monthly debt, or the user's monthly debt. So it's like input is equal to JOption pane dot show dialog, and then we'll say here again, enter your monthly payments on debt. And then we'll say here total debt is equal to integer.parse int, and then we'll pass input again. And we can use the same variable again since it's we no longer need it for income, since input already dumped it's what we needed from income, from the total income into the integer variable total income. Right. So let's figure out the debt to income ratio. And your debt to income ratio is basically your total debt divided by your total income, right? So say we want to say that debt to income, so that's double variable that's holding our debt to income ratio, which is going to be a float type data type, and we want to divide our total debt divided by our total income. And so here's where the if statements come into play. So if debt to income is greater than 1, and we'll say greater than or equal to 1, then and something to note here, you don't want to put a semicolon here, otherwise what you'll do, and we'll exemplify that here, what you'll do is disconnect your if statement. So we'll leave that there for now. We'll say again in the we'll use the Boolean variable below min score will be equal to true, and that's actually what we want, right? Or we're looking for, and it's going to throw up an error here, and it's going to say this is a null. This is a null because this if statement is not connected to a the if statement is not connected to this statement right here, and it'll come up here again. If we'll try to put an else here, it's going to throw up again an error even more because this else statement is not connected to the if statement. That's a problem. So if we erase this semicolon, it solves that problem completely. Either way, so we use the Boolean variable below min score is equal to true, and then um, else we'll say below min score is equal to false. So here we're basically saying if your debt to income ratio is greater than 1.0 or above, then you have a problem and you cannot qualify for this loan. And then right here we're saying if your debt to income ratio is less than 1, then you can qualify for the loan. So we set that equal to false. So it's not below min score. And then we'll use another if statement if below min score. So we're using this Boolean data type again to if we initialized it, we declared the variable here, initialized it, and set it equal to something in this if statement up here, and then we're going to use this. It's something else to note again. The brackets, notice how it's highlighting this bracket here, which is actually a part of the main method. And that would be bad if we didn't put another bracket down below here because it would assume that everything else below this bracket is part of this if statement, which is not true. IntelliJ is smart enough to know that you need a second bracket and tab over your cursor. So so let's put something in this statement. We'll say J option pane dot show message dialog, and then the first argument is always null here, and then at least for now, sorry, you do not qualify. And then and that's it for this statement. And then else J option pane dot show message dialog null. Congratulations, you qualify. And so that should conclude that. And then, as always, you want to put a system.exit to exit out of the J option pane windows. All right, so let's review the code here. Again, it's throwing up an error because IntelliJ thinks it can simplify this if statement, but it's not going to simplify it how I think it's going to simplify it. You have to be smarter than your compiler sometimes and figure out what you actually mean versus what the compiler thinks you want. So here it's saying debt to income divided by total debt or total debt divided by income is equal to debt to income, right? So that gives you some type of double variable, and these are inputted by the users. So the user tells you what the monthly income is, converts it into that input into a integer, dumps it into the total income and total income variable, which is a double, or sorry, it's just an integer, and then converts again the monthly payments on debt, converts that input into total debt, which is also an integer. Take these two variables, divide total debt divided by total income, gives you your debt to income ratio, which is a percentage or a decimal, normally below 100, hopefully, but no more. Hopefully, not too much more than 100, and then dumps that debt to income quotient into this double variable here, evaluates it against 1 if it's above or equal to or above 1, meaning your monthly income matches exactly your monthly debt payments, then you have you're below the minimum score required. So it's true. It sets the Boolean variable below min score equal to true. Otherwise, if it's below 1.0, then it's false. And if below min score is true, then you don't qualify. If below min score is false, then you do qualify. Then exits the system. So let's run this. As it parses out, we'll say our monthly income is 600, and then let's say our payments on monthly debt 600. Sorry, we don't qualify. However, if we run this again, we'll say my monthly income is 1,200, but then my payments on debt are 600. Congratulations, I qualify. So this is a rather simple, crude way of evaluating an if statement. Um, there are ways I can make this more efficient, but didn't because I'm trying to show you guys if statements and various how to use booleans and how to use arithmetic equations to get a true false statement, particularly here. So if you have any questions on this, let me know. Contact me via Canvas or via direct email. If you have any additional concerns about this particular program or if statements, let me know. I'm going to post this program into the course files and on Canvas. So let me know, and I'll see you in the next lesson.